Rami X back with another video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, as I do want to hit 25,000 subscribers before Christmas. With that being said, make sure to leave a comment, and we can now begin the video. Also, share the video to a friend like so this or just anime content in general. What if Naruto had God Chakra shall now begin. What is God Chakra? God Chakra is similar to normal chakra, but it is amplified. Amplified by how much, you may be asking? Amplified by 10 to 100 times. Meaning that God Chakra is much stronger than normal chakra. Normal chakra referring to, say, Kiba's chakra, or Kakashi's chakra, or even Itachi's chakra. With that being said, it is amplified by 10 to 100 times. Meaning that God Chakra is much stronger than normal chakra. It is also more dense and cannot be sensed at all, due to the fact that it's so powerful that you cannot classify it as a form of chakra. God Chakra also does not follow the 5 basic chakra natures, and instead can use multiple different elements. For example, the basic water style nature is already accessible. Every single chakra nature is already accessible, the 5 basic ones at least. That, of course, being water, earth, wind, lightning, and fire. With that being said, these singular elements can be split into multiple elements. For instance, Naruto can take the basic element of water style and turn it into, say, liquid water, like the Raging Wave style jutsu, gas, water, so as smoke, like, say, the Demon Mist jutsu, or like some sort of steam, and even solid water, so a form of ice, like Haku's water style jutsus. With that being said, we can now begin the what if. Naruto would be walking throughout the streets of Konoha, as day by day he would be ridiculed by those around him, spat on day by day, and things would even be thrown at him on occasion. Naruto would run away, not from the village, but somewhere far away, to a forest, to be more specific. Whilst there, Naruto would look around him. Looking around and not seeing anyone, Naruto would begin to cry, letting out all of his pent-up rage on a tree. He would give it a few kicks and a few punches, as he would then clench his fist. He would then close his eyes, thinking about every mean thing that's ever been said to him, as he would slam his fist into the tree. Upon impact with the tree would implode, or in other terms, would explode from the inside out, with Naruto now looking at his palm, as smoke came off of it, and his, palm was as red as a tomato. Naruto's eyes would widen, seeing the power that he had with his own eyes. He even got a little scared of it. What if one day he accidentally hurt somebody? This was all that went through Naruto's mind. What if? No pun intended, obviously. Naruto would stare at his hand for nearly 3 more minutes before he would begin to do what he called practice/training. Naruto would punch trees over and over again, but this time his punches weren't as powerful. It was as if, side note, I have a cold right now, as you can tell. But it shouldn't affect the quality of this video too much. With that being said, Naruto punched trees over and over again, but this time his punches weren't as powerful. It was as if Naruto went somewhere to find all of his pent-up rage, so to speak, and fired it off in one quick burst, as if his palm was a cannon. But now it was as if he was shooting a mere pistol in comparison to the cannon. And so, Naruto would sit in the middle of a few broken trees, in a way meditating and collecting his own thoughts. He would find the rage he felt once more. It was as if it was the only thing he could hang on to, through all of the rage, sadness, and despair, as well as the pent-up anger. These emotions manifested in Naruto's head as an evil, more scary version of himself. And as he grabbed onto the version of himself, he felt the rage once more. Basically, if you didn't get what that meant, inside of Naruto's subconscious. So, you know, the whole cage, Kurama's within the cage, you get the point. There is also an evil manifestation of Naruto. This evil manifestation of Naruto is similar to the evil manifestation of Naruto that we see at the Waterfall of Truth. With that being said, this Naruto basically stays within Naruto's subconscious, and this Naruto can give Naruto power. With that being said, Naruto would slam his fist into the ground as the ground around him would start to shake, revealing a small pond. Naruto would look at his reflection in the water as his eyes were red with rage. He would blink over and over again, but it was to no avail. His eyes didn't change colors at all. They were still a vibrant red, and even looked kind of like the Sharingan in essence. Naruto would wipe his face with the water in the pond, as when he thought of happy thoughts, his eyes would change back to their bright blue color. It was so weird to him. You see, it would occur to Naruto, who at this point is 7 years old, that when he taps into the power that allows him to break trees, boulders, and even the ground itself, and can do these things with ease, that he has to go to a very dark place to access it, to access this strong power. And so Naruto would train to never let the darkness consume himself through a process of finding the rage within him and gathering it into his attacks, whilst then quickly turning off the rage or even disregarding it entirely. He managed to access the power and turn it off by will after a year of working on it. That same year, Naruto would enter the academy, where after countless fails at using normal chakra control to create a shadow clone, he would eventually use his god chakra to create a shadow clone. Instead, when Naruto created this clone, the academy students didn't laugh. They also didn't look at Naruto with looks of disgust. Instead, they looked in awe and at his creation. This time, Naruto had created a near-perfect shadow clone, but soon the shadow clone would explode beside Iruka, who would go flying into the wall, with his Chunin vest now ripped, and what appeared to be some sort of rash where Iruka had been hit. It was then that Naruto would look around, seeing what had happened. He would apologize to Iruka, telling him that he's sorry, and if it's okay, he would like to be excused from the classroom. Iruka would allow this, as Naruto would leave the room, and Naruto had also severely hurt him, so he wasn't really in the mood to see Naruto's face in the first place. Sasuke would swiftly follow him, confronting him in the hallway. Naruto would ask what Sasuke was doing as he felt a punch to his gut. It's been nearly 180 days, or 6 months to put it into perspective, of you trying to make shadow clones. Not a single time could you create an actual shadow clone. They all were failures. They all soon disappeared and became blobs of nothingness. Yeah, and what about it? Well, I don't know a single person that can do that. Not overnight. Obviously, the clone jutsu is a jutsu that you can't just master. Or at least that's what I thought, before today. Where you made a perfect shadow clone that exploded. I used my Sharingan when I saw that shadow clone be performed, because it was different than all the rest, and it even shocked me, Naruto. But when I used my Sharingan, I saw that it was filled with so much chakra that it exploded. And the chakra I saw wasn't the normal blue color. It was different. To keep it simple, it looked like it was mixed with all sorts of colors, flowing through the clone's body until it quite literally blew up. An attack ripped our sensei's Chunin vest and sent him into the wall of our classroom. Sasuke would kick Naruto up to his feet, punching him once more, this time into the wall, or rather the wall of the hallway. You're gonna tell me what's going on here, because I've never seen or heard of someone doing such a thing in my life. Not even Itachi. Sasuke would pause, almost saying his elder brother's name. The memories of the Uchiha massacre would come flowing back to him. I'm sorry, Sasuke, but I'm not gonna let you boss me around anymore, understand? Naruto would stand to his feet, looking dead in Sasuke's eyes and clenching his fist. The wall beside Naruto's fist would begin to crumble as Naruto got deeper into his rage. Naruto, realizing that if he were to use his full power, or even just a glimpse of his power, he would end up injuring Sasuke beyond repair, so he would put his fist down. It would be here that Naruto would begin to walk away, as Sasuke wouldn't let him, brutally beating Naruto to his knees with his rage and anger. Naruto had started a fight, and then decided to walk away. This was Sasuke's way of returning the favor, you could say. Naruto would look up at Sasuke, begging him to stop, as Sasuke wouldn't, continuing to attack, combo after combo, barrage after barrage. He wouldn't stop until Naruto could no longer move. With that, Sasuke would punch Naruto in the face, knocking him out. Sasuke would then carry an injured Naruto back to his own house. Due to Naruto's healing factor, he would wake up while Sasuke tucked him into his own bed. Naruto would wake up. How do you know where I live, Sasuke? I followed you home one day. Plus, your injuries are pretty bad now. I would tell you to shower, but your shower looks like it hasn't been touched in forever. Yeah, I usually wash up in a nearby lake. Anyways, Naruto, that's none of my concern. Sorry about earlier, I kind of lost control. Maybe even a little bit more than lost control. Naruto would smile. It's okay, Sasuke. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. These kinds of things happen to all of us. Sasuke would later leave Naruto's apartment. Nearly 6 months later, Naruto and Sasuke had to spar each other. During this time, Naruto and Sasuke had been training to not have to rely... not Naruto and Sasuke, just Naruto, to not have to rely on what he called his other power, that meaning his God Chakra. With that being said, their spar would begin, as Naruto and Sasuke are now both 9 years old. Naruto would rush towards Sasuke, kicking him up into the air, as Sasuke would land on his feet, punching Naruto in his face. With that, Sasuke would then go for another punch. But this time, Naruto would jump back to the ground, evading the blow, as he would slide under Sasuke's legs, kicking him from underneath his jaw. Sasuke would smile. A real fight, finally. Naruto would also smile. Now things are getting interesting, he would say to himself, as Sasuke would smirk. Now things are getting interesting, don't you think, Naruto? Indeed. That's exactly what I was just thinking. With that, Sasuke would use Naruto's head to propel himself further into the air. Basically, he would jump off of Naruto's body whilst they were both in midair, using the Uchiha Fire style fireball jutsu. With that being said, Naruto, realizing that this is where he needs to end a fight, would clench his fist, summoning forth massive amounts of both chakra and strength. It would be here that he would summon forth his God Chakra, as he would grab onto the fireball with his hand, which would slowly begin to char due to the flame. The heat. With that, Naruto would slowly condense the fireball into nothingness. This would surprise Sasuke, who would stand still in amazement, as only charred smoke remained. Black smoke, to be exact. It was more of a grayish color, though. As Naruto would smirk. It's over for you, Sasuke. Sasuke, thinking that the fight had only just begun, would laugh, as Naruto would clench his fist once more, punching Sasuke in the gut. Sasuke would fall to the knees, as he got the wind knocked out of him. Naruto would laugh, punching Sasuke nearly 3 more times before he raised his hand, as he would then knock Sasuke out. Naruto would laugh once more, as he would continue to punch Sasuke. Each time he punched Sasuke, he would break one of Sasuke's bones, over and over again. Naruto would then continue to laugh as Sasuke would regain consciousness. Sasuke, if I recall, you beat me up until I was half dead. Iruka would tell Naruto to stop fighting Sasuke, as he saw Naruto to begin to punch Sasuke once more. Naruto would quickly disappear and reappear, karate chopping Iruka at the back of his neck and knocking him out. It was then that he would continue to brutally beat an unconscious Sasuke. as Sasuke would wake up, looking around in pain. As he then saw Naruto delivering blow after blow to his body, everything was silent to him. He couldn't feel anything, but he knew he was being hurt. With that, Naruto hit him again as he felt a bone in his body shatter, and in most cases, break. It was then that Sasuke would beg for Naruto to stop. Please, Naruto. Please, please, please. I need you to stop. I can't take this pain anymore. Naruto would speak. Nearly 6 months ago, you beat me up. Actually, you beat my ass. Why the hell should I stop? But if you really can't take it anymore, I'll just play ping pong with you instead. Just for a little bit. With that, he would create a shadow clone. Now, this isn't the clone jutsu. This is an actual shadow clone. A multi-shadow clone, to be exact. With that, Naruto would kick Sasuke to the clone, as they would quite literally play ping pong with Sasuke's body. It was then that they would do this for another 2 hours. With that, Naruto would start to get bored, grabbing Sasuke's body and sumo slamming him into the ground. Right there and then, Naruto would pick up Sasuke's half-dead body. Also, for those wondering how Naruto didn't get bored sooner, Naruto grew up nearly his whole life, creating shadow clones just to entertain himself. Shadow clones that were literal bloops of nothingness sometimes. So, playing ping pong with an actual shadow clone was quite fun to Naruto. With that being said, Naruto, upon sumo slamming Sasuke's body into the ground, would pick up Sasuke's half-dead body, taking him home, before leaving. He would then apologize to his fellow classmates for making them have to watch such a thing. With that, he would return to Sasuke's house, where he would lay Sasuke in his bed. With that, Naruto would watch as Sasuke slept, until he woke up nearly 12 hours later. Sasuke would awake to say, "How did you know where I lived, Naruto?" As Naruto would reply, "I followed you home one day. I would have made you shower, but, your shower looks like it hasn't been used in forever." I usually use the lake. Kind of feels like deja vu, doesn't it, Sasuke? You're right about that, Naruto. I wonder what I did to deserve this. Coughing up blood as he laughed. Naruto would look at Sasuke as he would continue. "Well, Sasuke, you beat me until I was nearly half dead. I returned you the same fate, though admittedly 10 times over, because, no one disrespects me like that. Not a single person. Not even you, Sasuke. After I begged you to stop and you didn't, that's where I draw the line. If you have all this power, why didn't you teach me the same lesson that you taught me now, 6 months ago, when I was attacking you? Or is this an every once in a while kind of thing?" Well, it's my chakra, so it's every day kind of thing, Sasuke. But I realized some time ago that it's much stronger than normal people's chakra. What exactly do I mean by that, you may be asking? Well, it's kind of hard for me to explain, but it's different, stronger, denser. I wouldn't really know how to explain it beyond that. But besides that, Sasuke, I have only one question. Sasuke Uchiha, do you hate me? Sasuke would pause. Remember when Itachi told him his hate wasn't strong enough. Sasuke would shed a tear as his Sharingan would reach its second Tomoe. Naruto would smile. You didn't give me an answer, Sasuke. And also, I have no clue what you're thinking about right now, but if it makes you happy, I can make my eyes red too. Naruto would tap into some of his inner rage, showing Sasuke his now vermilion red eyes. And with that being said, this has been Rami X. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And with that being said, Rami X out. Rami X back with another video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, as that would be deeply appreciated. And we begin this video with a thanks to each and every one of you watching the video, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Thank you. And if you aren't subscribed already, it would be an honor if you did subscribe to the channel, as I want to hit 25,000 subscribers before Christmas. And I think that I am kind of close to doing that. With that being said, I pick up exactly where the last video left off to give you a quick recap of, well, how it ended off. Sasuke would beg Naruto to train him. As well, a little bit after that, Sasuke and Naruto would have some dialogue. If you have all this power, why didn't you teach me a lesson 6 months ago when I was attacking? Or is this an every once in a while kind of thing, where you have chakra now and then don't have chakra some other time? It's my chakra, Sasuke. I realized some time ago that it's much stronger than normal people's chakra, denser too. Now, I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but it was a blender. It's done ringing now. I apologize if that distracted you. With that being said, Naruto continued. Besides that, Sasuke, I have only one question. Do you hate me? Sasuke would pause, remembering when Itachi told him his hate wasn't strong enough for him. Sasuke would shed a tear as his Sharingan would reach its second tomoe. Naruto would smile. You didn't give me an answer, Sasuke. And I also have no clue what you're thinking about right now. But if it makes you happy, I can make my eyes red too. Naruto would tap into his inner rage, showing Sasuke's eyes. With that being said, this has been 𝐎rphan X. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and with that being said, 𝐎rphan X out. That was where I left off the last video. We can now pick up from where I left off. A black mass of chakra now surrounded Naruto, as he revealed his inner rage to Sasuke. As Naruto realized the shift in his own aura, he looked at his palms, which he quickly clenched in his rage. His eyes then turned to grayish black as he approached Sasuke, looking him in his eyes. With that, Sasuke's eyes remained still, out of the pure fear that he felt for Naruto in that moment. With that, Sasuke didn't move an inch. There was nothing he could do. He had never seen such power, and Naruto was already far out of his league. And with so much chakra coming off of Naruto, Sasuke wouldn't even be able to run from Naruto. Now, how did Sasuke even deduce that Naruto was trying to hurt him? Well, it was the chakra. It felt so menacing. But even so, Sasuke's own human instinct forced him to run as fast as he could. So fast that for a second, Naruto couldn't even see him. But it was then that black hands began to form for Naruto's chakra, latching onto Sasuke's body. As Sasuke swiftly lost balance, he then felt his chakra being sapped from his body. Slowly but surely his two tomoe Sharingan faded, and Naruto now had the Sharingan present within his own eyes. But this was only for a moment that neither of them had. Soon, Sasuke could see them in Naruto's eye, the Sharingan, as they then disappeared. Naruto didn't even realize what he was doing as he walked closer and closer to Sasuke, the Sharingan now no longer within his eyes. With each step he took, the ground around him broke slowly. Eventually he made it to just a few inches away from Sasuke's face, as he drew his blade. Naruto's chakra quickly flowed to the blade, as if it was built for his chakra, as his blade quickly turned black, smoke now surrounding it. He slowly lifted his blade. It was clear to Sasuke now that Naruto had no control over his actions, as he noticed 2 teardrops form and fall from Naruto's left eye. It was then that only his right arm rose, grabbing onto his sword tightly. As it rose, slowly coming closer and closer to Sasuke's neck. Sasuke gasped, holding his breath as he could only pray that he'd, by some stroke of luck, die a painless death. So he prayed to something. It wasn't clear what, but he did. It was then that he remembered the legend of the Sage's Six Paths. As he sat, closing his eyes tightly, with sweat trickling down his forehead, he prayed, "Oh, Sage's Six Paths, please, allow me a painless death." He prayed over and over again, repeating it in his head. It was then that he felt the touch of the blade. It was cold, and Sasuke felt his heart skip a beat. It was unreal how it felt. He actually couldn't describe it. The pain then began to come, as he felt the sharpness of the blade's edge touch his skin, slowly digging into it, and soon enough he felt the warmth of his blood dripping down the blade. And then he felt nothing. Nothing at all. Sasuke was now dead, but not quite. Naruto had drained his body of most of its blood, and Sasuke had, technically speaking, died. But for some odd reason, Sasuke was still alive, as if in an outer world, a limbo of sorts. It was as if his soul remained alive, but his body was now dead. And so he wandered aimlessly through a deep black void, until stumbling into an old man. As the person that Sasuke had, technically speaking, not known of. What I mean by that is he didn't really know who this man was, but, you guys will figure out very, very soon. It would then be clear to Sasuke that this man was quite old, as he appeared to hover just slightly. With that, he quickly embraced the man, as it was the first man that he had seen in ages, as he smiled. He had never seen someone in the void for what felt like, eons. Although a little stunned at first, the old man quickly warmed up to Sasuke's presence, with little reluctance, and it soon became clear that the man's intentions were good, and only good. With that, another man appeared. He was younger in appearance, but his attentions seemed mixed. Sasuke felt himself being pulled in closer to the man, as if by a gravitating force, and eventually he had to physically remove himself from the young man's arms. And then, the man disappeared. As Sasuke then asked the old man of his name, it turns out the old man was actually the Sage of Six Paths. What? No way you're real. No. The Sage of Six Paths, like Hagoromo? The god of all shinobi? That is the name that they use for me in the mortal world. So yes, I do exist. Wow. You don't know how cool it is meeting you, but also how sad it is. If I'm seeing you now, it means I'm dead. Well, not necessarily. Huh? What do you mean? Well, due to your death, you are now stuck in limbo. But if you choose the choice of living, I could restore your body, and you would rise with newfound strength to battle Naruto, the current reincarnation of Asura. Asura? Who the hell is that? Hagoromo would then go on to explain the story of Indra and Asura, and how they are reincarnations of his two sons. It would be then that, Hagoromo himself would go on to explain the story of Kaguya and even Hamura. With that, Hagoromo held out his hand to Sasuke, outstretching the moon seal. Sasuke would then hold hands with the sage, as he would be pulled back into his own body. His neck hurt, as his eyes were still tightly shut. He slowly opened them as they fluttered open. He then saw Naruto standing over his body, his hands covering his eyes, as his left eye was still visible. It appeared to be completely blue, as his right eye appeared to be completely black. He could see tears flowing from Naruto's face, as he could also see the compassion in Naruto's eyes. It would be then that Naruto noticed Sasuke's eyes shift open, as he unsheathed his blade at lightning speeds, ready to cut into Sasuke's body once more. It would be then that Sasuke's moves were, too fast for Naruto to see, disappearing for a moment before reappearing at an even faster speed. It would be then that he would slam his leg into Naruto's back. For a second, Naruto felt pain, but the pain was quickly numbed as his eyes filled with tears. He then stared into Sasuke's eyes, as Sasuke tried to punch Naruto, but he wasn't fast enough. With his reaction times being slowed by just a few seconds, due to him locking eyes with Naruto. He was now in such a state that, it was hard for Sasuke to look at him, as Sasuke then used the power given to him by Hagoromo to attack Naruto. This time he came for an assault from above, rushing into the air at lightning speeds, far faster than Naruto could see, as Naruto would fall to the ground. Sasuke didn't realize, but his lightning-fast hand chop that he now sent flying towards Naruto was strong enough to leave a gaping gash in Naruto's back, as Naruto fell to his knees. Smoking hot flames now burst on Naruto's body, as they quickly lit themselves out with the coming winds, which ever so slightly grazed Naruto's body. It was then that just smoke lifted off of Naruto's body, as he had appeared to have passed out. Sasuke, with purple chakra emanating off of him, moved toward Naruto, picking him up, as it would be then that Naruto would open his eyes. Now on Sasuke's back, he spoke. "Thank you, Sasuke. If it weren't for you, I'd be dead. But either way, I believe I'll die soon." I couldn't possibly bear the thought of. Naruto's voice trailed off as he took Naruto home. Within Naruto's own mind, he was now talking to the young man who Naruto had no idea that Sasuke had met before. The young man who Sasuke had resisted's touch. The young man had actually made a proposal to Naruto that through allowing Sasuke to live, Naruto would only have to take on all of the pain that he had experienced, or rather that he had inflicted upon others. And upon taking in that pain, if he were to survive, balance would be restored and Naruto would be allowed to live whatever life he chose. It would be then that he disappeared into nothingness and his subconscious grew black and dark. With that, the coming days of Naruto and Sasuke hanging out with each other, it was, well, awkward to say the least. They didn't talk much about that day. All they said were small things that hinted at it, but they never truly spoke about how they felt about that day, each of them having varying opinions. And Naruto couldn't ignore it either. Sasuke was now leagues above him in strength if he wasn't using his God Chakra, and he feared that using his God Chakra, due to, well, that day, already added stress to beat Sasuke. With that being said, the fear of becoming a monster far outweighed the feeling of competitiveness that rushed throughout Naruto's veins. 3 more days passed, as Naruto was out training alone. As he passed out, Sasuke at this point was actually watching Naruto, as he would see Naruto's body fall to the ground. As soon as this happened, he rushed towards his friend, well, Naruto, to take him home, and then it was then that he would stand to his feet. This was odd to Sasuke, as before becoming visible in Naruto's sight, he disappeared, grabbing his own arm in discomfort as he felt chills rushing down his own spine. The same chills he felt all those days ago, when Naruto, well, wasn't himself to say the least. It was then that Naruto rushed towards a nearby body of water, as he slowly walked in, completely submerging himself in the water. The water then started to bubble around Naruto as he moved ever so closely towards a deep light within the body of water. It would be then that Sasuke felt himself amazed by how pretty the water was, as he felt himself rushing towards it as well, slowly but surely. And once he touched the water, his body grew completely limp. I said wimp, but I meant limp and numb, as he fell right into the water, now completely submerged, and water rushing into, well, I guess you could say his air path, as his mouth was wide open, unable to close it due to his body being completely numb and limp. With that, he was guided to a light, which he was somehow able to follow, but as soon as he tried to not follow the light and say swim back up, his body grew limp once more, and so he chose that, well, going to the light was the best option. It was there that he saw Naruto with a huge orb in front of him that emanated with light, and the young man who he saw when he was dead. He then listened on, well, He listened in on their conversation, barely able to make out the words, as he eventually heard Naruto say that he must do it to protect Sasuke. And it was then that Sasuke put together that whatever he's doing is to save him. So he rushed in towards the two of them, the light of the orb blinding Sasuke for a moment, as he activated his Sharingan, ready to cut the man's head clean off with his blade. Before he could, the man spoke. "My name is Concise, or rather, Konkais. Konkais Otsutsuki, and your friend here has a unique power that transcends the chakra of even us Otsutsuki. I see us Otsutsuki as living gods, but I have never worshipped a god in my life, not even a deity. But if I were to worship one, I would worship this human boy, Naruto Uzumaki, because his chakra far surpasses the level of even my own. And as you know, young Uchiha, everything must have a balance. The balance here is that he must take on the pain of others that he has inflicted. And so, within this gigantic orb is all of the damage that Naruto has caused and afflicted upon someone else, including the damage that he has done to you, Sasuke Uchiha. And if I recall, that damage was enough to kill you, if my memory serves right. Ah, yes, it does. You were dead, revived by Hagoromo Otsutsuki himself, son of Kaguya. Well, anyways, the historical factors don't really matter. You were revived by the Sage of Six Paths, and now stand here before me, due to the damage that Naruto inflicted upon you. Naruto will slam his hands through the orb, as the atoms within it will merge with Naruto's hands, allowing his hands to pass through it. It will be then that Naruto will feel all of the damage that he has inflicted upon others. And if Naruto is to survive this ordeal, all is dandy. Naruto may choose to live his life however he wishes. I have no qualms how he lives his life past this point. But as for right now, Naruto is faced with an ordeal. He must take on this pain. And as Naruto was about to push his hands through it, he did. But beside him, beside his hands, were Sasuke's hands, both now submerged in the orb. Naruto, I couldn't allow you to take on so much pain alone. So Sasuke, no. You fool. So I took on the pain with you. I had to. Or you would have died, wouldn't you have? It would have been just fine. What? You idiot. I'm sorry. I thought I was helping. You colossal moron. It would be then that Sasuke and Naruto's bodies fell to the ground. Naruto was barely able to move, but he could see Sasuke, who was in no better predicament. Sasuke's body was completely still, as blood was everywhere, and smoke quite literally protruded from Sasuke's mouth. A spume of smoke, to be exact. Naruto didn't know what to do. For all he could tell, they were both on the verge of death already. This is where we will be ending the part, I know. This is a very short video, about like 20 minutes in length, 19 minutes or so, something like that. The last part was close to this time, so I just wanted it to be roughly the same. Just for this series, not all series are going to be close to the same length. One video may be 20 minutes, the other may be 40. It really just depends. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, as that would be deeply appreciated. Road to 30K. Kankai's-san walked over to their nearly dead bodies as he looked down on the two of them. Note, this part of the audio recording is being recorded as a part 3 of the series. And thus, I should let you all know that the audio is a little bit different. In the previous parts, first of all, they were recorded far before the date of this being released. And second of all, well, to put it quite simply, I was a little bit sick in the first, or rather the second part. And so my voice might sound a little bit different, etc., etc. With that being said, Kankais looked down on their nearly lifeless bodies as he began to drag Naruto across the ground and dirt. It would be then that Naruto reawoke as he spoke, just barely, piecing together small sentences and small words. Eventually, he had the strength to tell Kankais to stop it, to stop pulling him away, to leave him alone and go away to die. He couldn't defend himself with his hands, so he tried with his words. Something that should be known about Naruto's God Chakra is that, although Naruto does not know it yet, it is a near infinite power source. And so Naruto, through his rage, anger, will, strength, power, determination, etc., etc., grabbed onto Kankais Otsutsuki's hand. Leave me the hell alone! Either that, or get the hell off my planet. Naruto grit his teeth. Even some Nine-Tails chakra was poking through Naruto now. Anything. Naruto was holding on to any chakra he could. But it was then that Naruto broke through, as if he shattered his limits. His strength nearly quadrupled. And, well, his speed, agility, and, well, even his focus sextupled. Sextupled, I know, by 6 times. With that being said, Naruto was now an entirely different person. The God Chakra that Naruto once only attained when angry was now around him. It looked calming instead of angry, mad, insane. Instead, it looked peaceful and tranquil. Naruto also bestowed, well, some sort of aura. An aura that was not normal. Never mind the fact that, well, Naruto also now had wings. Wings made from chakra. Naruto began to fly using these very wings. The sound of his wings fluttering could be heard. It was a very loud noise. It even awoke Sasuke, who was passed out at the time. He awoke to seeing it, and all he could do was gasp. Both for air and, well, out of shock. Naruto lied, standing there. Damn it. I never knew I was this powerful. As for Sasuke, Sasuke was stunned by how strong Naruto was. This chakra, this new presence coming off of him, was something he had never seen before in his entire life. It would be then that Naruto began to create an orb of light similar to the one that Kankais used on Naruto and Sasuke. Now then, I shall replicate the jutsu that you used on me. Although, upon further inspection, it wasn't actually a jutsu, was it, Kankais? I believe it was more of an ability, subject to your clan. Well, as far as that one goes, you are quite right. It is an ability subject to Otsutsuki, a mass ball of light that destroys its target. Unfortunately, you did not die. I believe and presume that that was due to your chakra. As for your friend, a black-haired boy, well, he survived because of your chakra protecting him. I could see it with my Rinnegan. It was guided to the chakra. What? Never mind the fact that I could plainly see it with my with my Kankaisagon. Kankaisagon? What the hell is that? It is the dojutsu that is covered by an eye patch. It's my left eye's dojutsu. Interesting, isn't it? A beauty to behold, if I do say so myself. It's spectacular. It would be then that Naruto sent his ball of light towards Kankai's. You know, I was named after my very own power. Otsutsukis from birth are not usually planned to be named. Unless you are an heir of a very powerful clan, then you are subject to being named far after your birth. From birth, you travel as a nameless one. You're lucky that it was I who came to Earth and not my brother. Yeah, and who the hell is your brother? Oh, my brother. His name, well, we call him Tranquil. Supposedly means peaceful here on Earth. Well, the opposite should be said. Tranquility, tranquil, the meaning of the word, well, back on my homeworld, well, the planet Kinto, where Otsutsuki lie, that, well, there, the word tranquil, although it means peace here, means destruction there. My brother is vile, vicious. He would have killed your friend without second thought. Yes, and you tried to already. Kankai's then grabbed onto the light orb as he continued to speak. Damn it! It actually has some power in it. Fine, then. Kankai's then began to raise the orb as he shooted it up into the air. Now then. Tranquil would have destroyed half the population. I have touched just 2 of its prized civilians. I see. Same methods, but yours are not the same methods because I do not kill helplessly. I find life to be a good thing. He finds all life that is not of Otsutsuki origin to be evil. But maybe he would be able to sense it just as I have. Sense what? Your friend down there, and you. Your chakra signatures. They are that of an Otsutsuki line. Diluted. Definitely. By thousands of years, hundreds of years, I'm sure. Several generations. But I'm absolutely positive. I can feel that of an Otsutsuki through you. And your friend. His courage, his strength, the fact that he still stands now. And the chakra signatures I am reading, they are that of an Otsutsuki. I can feel it in my bones. Do you understand that feeling, that rush that you get when you just know? That's what I feel now. Anyways, sorry to break it to you, but I'll have to take you and your friend. I'm sorry to break it to you, Kankai's. But today is your last day on Earth. I'll see to that. Really, is that so? Yes, that absolutely is so. Why would I joke about something like this? I'm not asking you if you were joking. I was just testing your mettle. Now then, behold, true strength. Now, Kankai's spear. A gigantic spear began to form in Kankai's hand. As he began to twist the spear, it would be then that he rushed towards Naruto with the spear in hand. With that, Naruto smirked. I wouldn't have been so confident if I didn't believe that I outscaled you in every single possibility. You're an Otsutsuki. I am mere human. This battle was unfair from the moment it began, but it doesn't mean that I will not win. Now die! Naruto clapped his hands together. It would be then that a gigantic sphere of darkness appeared behind Kankai's, slowly eating away at rubble, dirt, debris that was scattered behind Kankai's before getting closer and closer to him. It was too late. Kankai's was already in attacking motion. He couldn't stop himself, turn, and deflect. The dark orb, the dark sphere, was too powerful, too fast, too quick. And so, he continued to press on to kill Naruto. But the dark sphere consumed him. And by the time that, it was done consuming him, the only pain that Naruto felt was a small, very, very small, sharp pain in the middle of his forehead. The pain was, you could only describe it as being immensely painful. But it slowly rang out as if it was a tuning fork on Naruto's forehead. With that, Naruto didn't let off. He picked up Kankai's now nearly dead body and began to read all chakra signatures from it. He then focused his eyes. It seemed that his God chakra allowed him to see things he couldn't before, and he saw small chakra strings flowing off of Kankai's, powering him somehow. And thus, Naruto followed the strings. Before doing so, he rested Sasuke safely. But then, he rushed after them. In very little time, Naruto was halfway across the planet, and soon, Naruto was in space. He continued flying until he eventually found a gigantic planet. It was hard to breathe in space, and thus, he thought he had to. He must. If Otsutsuki can breathe on Earth, then they must have some sort of oxygen. And thus, he traveled to the planet Kinto. Upon arriving, there was a gigantic building. The building seemed to be some sort of palace, and thus, Naruto, whilst dragging the dead body of Kankai's Otsutsuki, walked through the palace doors. The guards at the door appeared to be Otsutsuki. Although, even their chakra signature was much stronger than Kankai's. It seemed that each and every member of this clan was powerful, stronger than your average ninja. Much stronger, by hundreds of times even. Thus, as Naruto entered the palace, he prepared himself for any sort of attack. As Naruto continued the walk, he saw a throne, and beyond that, he saw a person on the throne. A man with a somewhat long beard, markings all over his body, as well as small scars indented in his skin. White, stark hair similar to that of Kankai's, and shadow over his eyes. In his eyes were that of the Rinnegan, and a similar dojutsu to the one that he believed Kankai's tried to describe to him earlier, the Kenseisagan, or something like that. Naruto continued dragging Kensei's body, as upon being maybe a meter away from the man spoke. But before he could, Naruto yelled out, "I have killed Kansai Otsutsuki! Send another one of these bastards to my planet, and I'll have them all dead. You got that?" The man said nothing. He didn't even believe Naruto, until Naruto threw Kansai's near lifeless body to him. The man did not speak. He did not even move. His stance hadn't changed. His demeanor hadn't changed. Just only once he was confused, and then when he realized, he no longer showed any emotion. Naruto didn't understand. Do they not care when one of their own dies? Or is it because this would just be equivalent to losing any random ninja? Naruto spoke again. Does Kankai's mean nothing to you? If you're the king of this stupid place, you're a pathetic one. First rule of being an Otsutsuki king. You must show no emotion. What? Exactly what I said. Of course I care. But I mustn't display it. If I were to display my emotions on the forefront, I would be a weak king. My father, 𝐻rphan 𝗗estroyer. Well, he showed his emotions far too often, and he was killed as king. He never had the chance to pass the throne because he died. The throne was immediately inherited by his sons, split amongst them. Luckily, blood feuds were not created, as all of the other children of his were slaughtered beyond my own father. I am 𝐻rphan Otsutsuki II. My father, 𝐻rphan 𝗗estroyer, and the first 𝐻rphan. Well, he had the chance to pass the throne on to me. I'm the only child of my grandfather. And by that I mean, I am the only grandson that he has that still is alive. How old are you? Why are we having this conversation? You come here, you come to my planet Kinto, and you expect me what? To sit here, twiddle my thumbs. This seems to be some sort of declaration of war. You bring the head, well, nearly the head, the body of Kankai's Otsutsuki. You are aware that Kankai's is of royal blood. His ties date far back to my great-grandfather. Our families even loved one another, mingled, breeded with one another. You understand that our lines mix. This man that you have dropped here before me is of royal blood, and this will not stand in this room, this courtroom, this palace, and especially not on this planet. Courtroom? What exactly do you mean? This is just a palace, a throne room. No. This is where all public executions are held, and you seem to be the one that will one day happen today. Your tongue, it's different from ours. Of course it is. I do not speak like pathetic humans. We know of humans. Kankai's was sent to the planet to retrieve the interesting chakra signature that we felt. The one that felt like ours. The one that was stronger than ours. That's the only reason why Kankai's is here. To serve a purpose, and he served his purpose by going to Earth. You have just killed Kankai's. He was peaceful, was he not? He destroyed lands long. He destroyed so much. He nearly killed me. And my best friend. Was your best friend the one who had similar chakra signatures? The ones that were familiar, but not as strong? Yeah. Why didn't you bring him here? We would have loved to see him. If he had as much spirit, I guess, as you, it would have been interesting to see. Now then. Kankai's was my first cousin. I have known Kankai's since he was but a boy. I was introduced to him at 12 years old. I am now 633. My life has been interesting, to say the least. And it's also been extraordinary. Not to mention that, well, you eventually grow old. Not literally, but mentally. As Otsutsukis, we are near immortal. We do die, but we can survive for several hundred years without fail. even sometimes several millennia. Now then, well, as you know, as I explained earlier, I do not have any brothers. I also do not have any other cousins. So you ask, how is King my first cousin? Well, women never inherit the throne. Woman, Otsutsuki, that is. Do you know why? Why? This only happened in recent times. There was once a princess who lived here. Her name was Kaguya. Kaguya Otsutsuki. She left. I believe the history's books say that she fled to Earth. Although I'm not certain. Anyhow. We used to have princesses, but in times recently, the women of our clan have much resembled that of human. They look human. Everything they do is human. And we do not sacrifice the throne to mere human. They are not weaker, but they appear different. Us Otsutsukis don't like different. As for my own opinion on it, I could care less. If she's strong enough to lead, then she's strong enough to lead, but that's not how they see it. I was not meant to take this throne, but I took it to ensure domination of my clan, of my family, my royal line, for the rest of my days, and the rest of the days of my children, and my children's children, and my children's children's children. Does that make sense to you, even just a little bit? It does, and I'm sincerely sorry. If it helps, Kankai's is not dead. No, but you do not understand. Kankai's failed. And to Otsutsuki's failing a mission, especially when you're sent to another planet, well, that's similar to losing your life. You lose your honor. It is a stain, a scar on your back for the rest of your days. Makes sense? I suppose it does. Well, now then. I've decided that your planet shall die. What? Kaguya is no longer there. Kankaisu, the warrior that we sent, is dead. My first cousin. I will enact revenge for him and destroy Earth. Kankai's body then disappeared, and along with it, Andromache II. With that, Andromache appeared behind Naruto, and then in front of him. He now held a spear through Naruto. I am Andromache II, and my dear cousin Kankais was a wielder of scythes, spears, and axes. It is only fitting that you are pained with a spear before your death. How is this? Oh, you wonder, boy. Now then, you will slowly die. But first I will send you to your home planet. Andromache then traveled through space as he held Naruto in his left arm, clutching onto him by his shirt and holding him over his beloved planet Earth. It would be then that he prepared a black ball of destruction in his palm. It then turned purple. It became vibrant with light. It was then that he looked down back at Naruto. Naruto, behold what our clansmen do. We build, as you've seen on our planet. We travel, as you've seen with Kankai's. And we destroy. Now, behold! A massive beam of darkness surrounded and engulfed the earth. As it slowly shrunk more and more, Naruto began to cry, sob. My planet! He screamed out in pain. Humans, so frugal and weak. I suppose it is a shame, though. Your best friend, the boy who had familiar chakra sources, we cannot retrieve him. But if he was anything like you, I don't know if I would have wanted to meet him. Now then, goodbye now. I will allow you to burn, to be destroyed with your planet. What kind of person would I be if I let you become an even greater monster? I've read the future. I can see it with these eyes of mine. Kankais could see his death. Either that, or he was so reckless that he was fine with being injured. But the Kankaisagon allows us to see the future by several years. I see a future where you survive, where you come to kill me and rule over Kinto. You even marry my second cousin, Mary Alona. You lead over planet Kinto and you kill Andromache II. But unfortunately, with the ability to see the future, we may also change it. I have decided to change it. Now die. You truly have the potential to beat me. Your god chakra and all. Naruto was dropped into despair. He was going to die, he knew it. And so he reached out, but his hand wasn't long enough, his arm wasn't long enough. Red chakra began to bubble around and a claw began to form, ripping into Andromache's skin and cutting 3 gashed lines across his chest. Andromache could only laugh. This pain is but nothing compared to death. This is merely a flick to the wrist. Now die. Andromache then blew Naruto, using some sort of advanced wind-style jutsu, which sent him flying into the destroying planet of Earth. Naruto was now dead, and Andromache alive and well. Andromache traveled back to Kinto, where he healed Kankais, and rested upon his throne once more, being aided by several Otsutsuki maids and, well, nurses, doctors, etc., to heal his wounds and to, well, tend to his needs. With that, Andromache II Otsutsuki, son of Andromache the Scythian I, Otsutsuki, forever ruled over planet Kinto for times long. With that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. This was, in fact, the What If Naruto Had God Chakra, all parts, / full series, / the movie. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it, but you get the point. Hope you guys all enjoyed. This was very fun to make. Just one of those series that I wanted to bang out. It did take quite a bit and quite a long time to fully make. But it was, well, it was a success. So thank you for all of you. And if any of you got this far into the video, leave a like, comment down below. And I appreciate each and every one of you. With that being said, Rami X,